Did you know that 70 to 80% of students cheat in high school? Did you also know that 75% of them stress daily over producing satisfactory grades? In addition to that, 6 out of 10 students choose to stay late and study instead of go to bed, leading them to get 5 or fewer hours of sleep every single night. I know that's a lot of information, but we need to talk about this. Almost 13 million high schoolers in the US stress daily over producing satisfactory grades. Now, what does satisfactory even mean? It doesn't mean something that's perfect, but it does mean something that'll satisfy you. And for many overachieving students like me, that basically means straight A's. So, pretty much perfection. Now, there isn't anything wrong with being motivated and setting these ambitious goals for yourself, but there does start to be a problem when too many students go too far to reach their satisfactory point. And in the process, they forget to take care of themselves and prioritize themselves first. We've all heard of anxiety and depression, but have you heard that according to the National Education Association, close to 50% of all students in the US have an anxiety disorder that was caused by their need to produce satisfactory grades. In many of these cases, depression was also very common. To top that off, if you're constantly stressing about getting these grades, you're going to experience a bunch of physical symptoms, such as chest pain, headaches, trouble sleeping, and so much more. If that doesn't sound fun to you, just wait for this. Almost every single system in the human body can be influenced by your chronic stress. So if you're a teenager in high school constantly stressing about getting these satisfactory grades, that can actually lead to a chronic illness. According to the National Health Institute, when your chronic stress goes unreleased, it suppresses the body's immune system and ultimately manifests as illnesses. These are some of the chronic illnesses that you can get from your chronic stress. You have everything from hyperglycemia to diabetes to even insomnia, and the list keeps going. My point is that your mental health isn't the only part of you that's struggling when you constantly stress about getting these satisfactory grades. Your body is going through just as much, if not more. Don't believe me? Read the studies. Go talk to your doctor, or just listen to my story. I'm a 15-year-old junior in high school, and I have a chronic illness. I have something called chronic anemia, and as you can see, some of the most following symptoms are fatigue, low energy, dizziness, fainting at times. There's a few more, but I think you get the idea. Basically, it makes me really weak. Now, I'm not a professional, so I can't tell you if this was caused by my constant stress, but what I do know is when I stressed more often about school, I also ended up going to the hospital more often as well. At one point, I was so weak where I physically could not get out of bed in the morning because of my lack of energy. I was too weak to do anything. Simple things like walking up and down the stairs used to make me faint. Now, today, I am still anemic, but I'm happy to say that I do not faint anymore while walking up the stairs. And that is largely thanks to the fact that I don't stress as much anymore about school. Now, why do I bring this up? This is something very personal to me, but it's important to discuss because I am an overachiever who has always prioritized her grades. I worked too hard and cared too much about things like my GPA and standardized test scores because I genuinely believe that I will succeed if I do well in those. Succeed in what, you may ask? Well, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Ever since being diagnosed, however, and having to get many multi-hour treatments, I can definitely say my values have changed. All of my treatments might have been helping me internally, but they were also making me feel physically worse with their many side effects. I wasn't the same person or student after getting them. I didn't have the same capability to write a 7-page essay in 2 hours. I didn't even have the same drive for what I believed to be success. Not because I didn't want to do everything that I could to get satisfactory grades, but because I physically couldn't. And since it was so important for me to get these grades, and I genuinely believed that to be successful you had to have perfect grades, I felt like I wasn't successful. Now, I knew there was more to me than my grades, and more to life than grades, but that was very difficult to understand at the time because other parts of my life were also lacking. My health was, well, as you could tell, not excellent to say the least. School was obviously not going the way I wanted it to, and my social life was really struggling because I was constantly busy getting these treatments. My overall life honestly felt pretty awful. Eventually, though, I did realize that a lot of these things I just couldn't control. I can't control my health, or the fact that I have to get these treatments in order to feel better. I also couldn't control the time I had to hang out with my friends. What I could control, however, was how I defined success. Since it was so important for me to succeed in some aspect of my life, usually it would always be my academics, I had to redefine my idea that success equals perfect grades. Having a perfect GPA will not mean that I will succeed in life. And no matter what I thought success was, I knew it had to involve two things: me being healthy and happy. And if I was constantly stressing about getting these perfect grades, I wouldn't be healthy or happy. The fact that it took me so many years and many trips to the hospital to realize that is pretty insane. But I guess that's what happens when you get sick. You realize that there is more to life than that one thing that you were obsessing over. Let's take a moment to remember that school isn't there for you to get good grades. School is meant to be a place where you learn how to do things like problem solve and how to critically think. It's also meant to be a place where you can let all of your creativity flow. So let's stop making school about grades and start actually learning and having fun. Yeah, school can be fun. It's true, guys. You get to hang out with your friends and hopefully take a few classes that you're actually interested in. And if you want to be successful, just start prioritizing yourself. It is that simple. For example, get enough sleep. Without enough sleep, teens struggle with attention, memory, and problem-solving skills. Having healthy minds and bodies will contribute to better academic performance, as well as better overall well-being. Because you won't be in high school for the rest of your life. It's not worth it to ruin your physical and mental health in order to get those perfect grades, if in the end, you've damaged your health so much, you can't even use those perfect grades to go to college. Because of my exhaustion, I was forced to start prioritizing my body. I started going to bed earlier instead of staying up and studying for that calculus test. I also stopped stressing about all of my test scores and just did my best. Because perfect grades or not, I would still have a chronic illness. And if I wanted to have a good life in the future, I had to learn to take care of myself now. Because I'm all that I have. You are all that you have. So start prioritizing yourself and focus on what really matters, not what society has deemed important. For some reason, this isn't talked about enough. We all know that grades aren't everything, and that they won't actually lead us to a successful life. Yet, we still care so much about them. Maybe it's because your teacher has your whole class grade be composed of test scores. Or maybe it's because of your parents' pressure. Or maybe it's just because you want to go into an Ivy League in the future. Whatever your reason might be, it's not worth it. Try to understand that a bad test grade, class grade, or even a not so good GPA won't actually ruin your life. You probably won't even remember any of them in 10 years because you still have a life to live after high school. Great job on that 4.0. Now, how are you going to go to college with your high-functioning anxiety and broken heart syndrome, for example? How are you going to survive the rest of your life? Like I said, there is a life worth living after high school. Take care of you. Don't let some sort of number or letter define you, and definitely don't waste your time on it. Health and happiness is the highest level of success. Thank you.